Hello, everybody. Are you ready for your salute? You're getting one and you're getting two. I give you a double salute because I respect you that much. Happy holidays. It's a special holiday episode, which simply means it's happening during the holidays. But welcome to the Weekly Spinner Rack. I'm your host, Chris. We're going to talk about a lot of comic book news this week. We're also going to talk about some year-end stuff. We're going to look back at 2022 in comics, and we're going to have some reviews of some of the most recent comics that came out this week. Let's see who... I almost said that right. It was going smooth for a while. I'm out of here. Got to get a new host. Now, let's take a look at some of the people that are in the chat room already. Thank you very much for the super chat, Steve Sorensen. Lovely to see you. Let's see. Hello, Jamil. Hello to there I did. It's going kind of quick, so it usually takes me a minute when I hit a show for your comments, but a bunch of people in here. I'm not going to get you all. I'm sorry, but we got Michael Cortez and Arturo Luke, and we've got X going to give it to me. Hello to Big Gay Dave. Hello to Zach Capris. Hello to Arsnoff. And yes, hola from Mexico. Bonjour, as we say over here. Hello to my sister. I'll be seeing you very soon. But nice to have you. Awesome. This is great. I love it. We are in the chat just like that movie Tron, yes. And just like the movie Tron, by the end of this, I will be completely digitized, and you'll get to interact with my avatar. I'll be fighting also simple vector robots. It'll be great. I promise. I promise that will happen. Hello, Bat. Hello, Dr. Shoebill. Awesome. So just want to give a quick heads up. Anyone that was here last week, I said that I was going to have a guest this week. Just to be clear, that's not happening now. I was going to have Ed Piskor on to talk about what it was like going to a Comic-Con in Japan, but he said it's just a little too late for him over on the East Coast. So now we know that Ed is a sleepy pie, as well as being a great podcast host and a great artist. Boy, I have big glasses on today. Lots of reflection. Sorry, folks. Anyway, lovely to have so many familiar faces, and it's love to see a bunch of new people. Yeah, I did hear about this. Did you hear Christopher Nolan may have set off an actual nuke for his new film Oppenheimer because he didn't want to use CGI? I read into that a little bit more. My understanding is they set off a massive explosion out in the deserts of New Mexico, but that it was not radioactive. It was not actually a nuclear explosion. That's my understanding. But you know what? Anything for that realism, right? Anything for that reality. Let's see. The guests of Three Spirits that will be visiting you at midnight. Yes, will be seen by my old business partner, if you stick around. And then three ghosts will take me through time. It'll be great. Oh, that's nice. That's really nice to hear. He gave me one on the stream. Well, I know that, we talked just a little bit online. And I definitely know that I was the guy who would posted somewhere in social media that hey, Japan is now open for travel for Westerners. And now Ed saw my post and was like, I'm booking something. So that's nice. I'm glad he had a good trip. And I hope that we do get an opportunity to talk at some point. I don't know when will be convenient, but I respect them a heck of a lot. So that's nice. Let's see. We've got a really big show, so I should get started soon. But let's see. The Lobo Christmas fan film is great too. Oh, did I miss a post from Jim? Glad to have you here if you are, Jim. Let's see. A Christmas Carol is a multiverse story, right? Is it a multiverse story? I think it involves time travel and that nothing is actually changed to create a separate timeline. Now, It's a Wonderful Life might be a multiverse story for A Christmas Story, but I don't think A Christmas Carol. I think that's just a time travel story. I once wrote a comic book. It never got like published or made or anything. It was about these 3 out of work guys that form a detective agency in the future, and they get work when they're all in the unemployment line. This is way in the far, far future, and so some criminals break in to steal stuff. And one of the guys in the unemployment line is the ghost of Christmas past. So they become, and a few issues later, they need to go back to pick the brain of the greatest detective ever, Sherlock Holmes, and they use their friend, the ghost of Christmas past, to time travel. I always thought that was pretty good. I should do that again. Or I mean, again, like make it happen someday. Let's see. Chris, hello. I mentioned that you and I were giving props to the Lobo paramilitary special from 1991. Classic stuff. I love that book. Keith Giffen, Simon Beasley. That was my introduction to Lobo. That was the first Lobo story I read. And it's actually fairly early on in his appearances, all things considered. I loved that book in 1991. And I definitely thought it was even edgier than it was because of like how young I was. And I was like taking it with me in my backpack to school and sort of like reading it like in study hall and stuff, like seeing if anyone noticed that I was reading something so violent and over the top. Like, yeah, these comics, no, this isn't Superman. But yeah, these are comic books. This ain't your daddy's comic book. Wow. Portugal. Well, thank you so much, Witcher of Arkham. Thanks for being here. Let's see. Into some of this week because there were some bidders. So let me just do some quick reviews, not super spoilery necessarily or anything. Actually, let me try this view. Can I do this? I'm trying something. Hold on. Nope, that's not going to work. Okay. Well, I tried and I failed. The moral is never try. There, that's a little bigger, right? Let's do that. Danger Street. All right. I was a little slow to figure out that these Tom King written limited series that he's doing at DC tend to be pretty exceptional. But this year I read both Supergirl and Human Target. They were awesome. And so I was like, I need to check out Danger Street right when it comes out. The premise of this is so nerdy. I love it. By the way, art by Jorge Fornes. So we've got all these really random characters in here from DC history. Lady Cop. Hey, if you guys have watched Comic Tropes, my other channel for a while, you know I did an episode about that. But we've also got the Dingbats of Danger Street. That's a pretty obscure pull for them. The Creeper. These are all in one comic together in one story. We've got like the Blue Starman. We've got Warlord. We have Metamorpho. Why are these guys all in here? Because they were all in a 13-issue series DC did that was called the First Issue Special. And the idea was every issue was the first issue of a proposed series. Now, I think only 2 of those went there. I'm pretty sure they relaunched New Gods out of it. They definitely launched Warlord out of it. The rest of them I don't think went anywhere. But Tom King has now created this weird mystery where they're all involved and they're all getting pulled into this one direction. And it sort of starts with these 3 guys, Warlord, Metamorpho, and Starman. They want to get into the Justice League. You know, they're tired of being the sort of C-listers, and they have Dr. Fate's helmet, and they're going to like summon Darkseid, and they think they can trap him in a circle, like sort of like summoning a hell beast. And of course it goes wrong, and it leads to a weird mystery. And it's going to pull in all these sort of weirdo characters. What were these guys called? Like these are more. These guys only appeared in 1 issue each. This guy was called Codename, and he's only in 1 panel here, backing up these guys that had an issue. They were just they were called the Green Team. That's what they were, and they were just like these boys that were millionaires, and they went around the world solving problems with money, which you could actually. This is what people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk could be doing. They could be the Green Team, but they're not. I really liked it. It's weird. I don't know exactly where it's going, but you know, you throw Lady Cop in, and I'm probably one of the few people that have done an episode about Lady Cop's comic. So yeah, I had to check it out, and I recommend it. All right, you guys might know what this one is if you follow comics at all, because it's been talked about for quite a while. Todd McFarlane teaming up again with Greg Capullo, who drew Spawn for years, also had an acclaimed run on Batman. What are they doing? They're doing Spawn Batman. And it's not really like a sequel to like what they did back in 92 or 93, whenever that was. It's more of a news story. It's a little confusing to me. I know that the Court of Owls, who want to like control Gotham and their secret society, they somehow basically trick Spawn into coming into Batman's universe and going after him. Beyond that, some of this is like, I feel like not explained that well. But you know what? It is fun. It's fun to stay here, misunderstanding who's time is better, and then like against the bigger foe. It's a trope in superhero comics, but you know what? It works because we want to see our heroes test each other. But ultimately, I think stories where heroes battle each other for like on and on, like Civil War, are pretty depressing. You want to see them go up against a bigger threat. You're curious who's better in a fight, maybe, but you don't want to just see our heroes hate each other. Let's see here. Always nice to have you here too, Andy. Danger Street looks very cool. I wish they had picked an artist with a little more Kirby energy, but that's probably just me. That's fair because Jack Kirby did both Atlas and he did. Did he do the New Gods issue of first issue special? He did another. He either did the Dingbats or Green Team. I don't think he did the. Ironically, I don't think he did the Gods one. But that said, find it here. He's not. You're right that he's not Jack Kirby, but Fornes does definitely still like have, the Kirby effects. He's not ignoring a big dynamic pose and Kirby crackle energy and stuff. He's not Kirby, but at least if he's not Kirby, he's not necessarily trying to be Kirby, but he is leaning into some of the hallmarks of Kirbyism, I think, with when certain of those characters come in. There is some pretty dynamic stuff. I agree. It would have been very fun to get somebody that had even more of a Kirby aesthetic, although at its core, that might not have worked for characters like Lady Cop or Warlord as much. But who knows? I didn't remember the stuff off the top of my head. So Kirby, come on. Boy. Okay, Kirby did Dingbats and Manhunter, and then Andrew Jefferson says did Dingbats, Manhunter, and Atlas. Yeah, okay, that sounds right. Wow, Marvin Nation, always nice to see you here. Thank you for the donation. Happy holidays. Looking forward to your 2023 videos. I've got a bunch of ideas already working, like behind the scenes on reading and writing and taking notes and saving images. So I do have a bunch of ideas. Thank you so much for your support. By the way, Marvin is also one of the moderators on the Comic Tropes Discord. He does a great job welcoming people and keeping conversation going. Let me jump back to this. I got one of the variant covers because what is it? This is a glow in the dark cover. I don't know. Can I turn off the lights? And no, I've got lights behind me too. I was trying to see if I could get it dark enough to show that stuff glow, but I guess I really can't. Unless I can somehow cover up a little bit of the light covering it all up. But anyway, I will say that Todd McFarlane has made some strides as a writer in that when I go through this, his early issues of Spider-Man and Spawn that he was writing, those were walls of text. If you were reading his stuff in the early 90s, it could... Yeah, we all loved his artwork, but boy, oh boy, could it get hard to get through. Oh man, this hurts to hear. The stream is really choppy tonight, hard to understand you at times. We are planning on upgrading our internet. It's been really busy with the holidays. So after tonight's episode, the next month off because I'm going home, and then like the next episode of this show will be in 2 weeks, and hopefully I've improved the stream quality by then. So I'm really sorry. Oh yeah, McFarlane was definitely worse than Bendis with the text. It was like just walls of pretty bland text sometimes. He'd have news reporters like just explaining what was happening. What kind of dialogue is that? I'm missing a word. But anyway, is it fun? It's fun. And by the way, it does. There's Joker circa Death of the Family. But look, you get like some 2-page spreads that are really nice, and it sets things up for cool. Doesn't end on a cliffhanger, but it does set things up for a cliffhanger. Yes, thank you. Nice to have you here. Let's see. Who else is here? Just saying hello to some people. I know I can't catch everybody, but I'm really glad to have you all here. Yeah, that's fair. Like it's implied that like Violator and Joker might have something bigger to do than the Court of Owls. We'll see. Newest issue of Radiant Black came out. By the way, I'll have some Radiant Black related news. So there's some cool stuff coming up in this. And you know what? This is to alien robot, gigantic alien robot coming to Earth, and a few of the Radiants going up against it. Good old-fashioned superhero fun and trying to solve a problem when their powers by themselves don't quite seem to be enough. I like Radiant Black. I definitely recommend it. A-Man says that he's here. Lovely to have you here. And wow, I've got some more people from South America. Hello, Matthias. I don't know how much anybody out there likes horror, but Dark Ride is only on issue 3. This is from Image. Is a blast. It's got a horror theme park, and the people running it might have made a deal with the devil. Very enough. Look at this. Thank you for this Christmassy super chat. Thank you, Joe Dent. Merry Christmas to you and all in the chat. Well, that's nice of you to say. That's very nice. Joshua Williamson writes this. The characters, he comes up with some really quirky people that are either like fans of horror, but also like sort of master type people that are doing investigative journalism, like real gung-ho independent stuff. Some rich snobs that are a little like disconnected from day-to-day life. A sister searching for her brother, and all sorts of creepy, gory things that can happen. Dark Ride is a blast. I love it. Dead Lucky, I'll go through this quick because we're at issue 4, but this is set in the Massive verse. Melissa Flores' writing is the real star here because she comes up with some pretty nuanced characters. It isn't going to be like just pages and pages of text telling you who they are. You get to see that through their actions and through clever dialogue. It's pretty efficient, actually. So you do have action scenes, but you get to know these characters along the way. And the main character, Bibi, is somebody dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder from her time serving in Afghanistan and also losing pretty much her whole squad. But they sort of are with her. Now, are they literally with her, or is that in her head? There's a little bit of room to talk about that. Total. Josh, no, sorry. Andrew asks, how does Dark Ride compare to Dark Crisis? It's crazy to me that both are by the same writer because I think Dark Ride is a blast and moves at a really good click, whereas I felt like Dark Crisis was really just kind of repetitious and spinning its wheels. That's just my take. Yeah. Here's something DC related, though. We're about to wrap up the first volume of Superman, Son of Kal-El. Still got the original team, Tom Taylor. What's the artist's name? Torme is the last name. I'm so bad at names, folks. When am I going to get better at that? Cian Torme. This one involves Clark's son sort of getting own arch enemy. It's really cool. I don't want to give away actually the twist. We're almost done. Mandalorian. Hey, it's just recapping like one issue per one episode of the show. And this was one of my favorite episodes of the first season where Mando takes work, sort of a heist, but really more of a prison breakout. And he works with some real scumbags that try to double cross him. And we get to see just how good Mando is, not just in a fight, but like planning ahead. He's very wily. So this one was really fun to revisit. Last thing I picked up this week was Nightclub by Mark Miller and Juanan Ramirez. Look at this, $1.99. And this is like a full like comic with the quality as good as any other Image comic out there. I am not familiar with this artist, but I like the artwork quite a bit, actually. Look, I'll just give you the boilerplate premise. There's some teenagers here. They're just trying to sort of find their place in the world and everything. One of them gets turned into a vampire. And I guess being a vampire, yeah, you need to drink blood, but you're not necessarily, I don't think it necessarily turns you like soulless and evil, because he decides, or at least it seems that he decides by the last page, that instead of sort of getting bullied and not making a name for himself and everything, he's going to be a superhero. So he just covers himself head to toe in leather and luchador masks and stuff like that. And he's going to use his vampire powers to be a superhero. That's a fun idea. So we'll see exactly how well it works. But I like the art. This actually wasn't as sort of nihilistic as a lot of Mark Miller stuff can be. Dialogue was pretty good, although it's supposed to be in New York, I think. Oh, Philadelphia, excuse me. And once or twice I heard people like talking, and I was like, that's not exactly how people here talk. Where was that, though? There was one specific example where I was like, that's not what in Philadelphia that are like teenagers sound like. Where was it? I want to find it. I can't find it. It doesn't matter, I suppose. It's just that some of the dialogue was a little off for what I would consider like convincing. But that's a nitpick. This was actually really cool. And for $1.99, I'm in for that. Yeah. Great question here, Randy. And it's always nice to see you here, buddy. Is the price staying that low with future issues? That is the plan. Mark Miller wants to see if you sell it that low, could that lead to increased orders? Here's the only wrinkle there that I don't know if he's considering. Does that have enough like profit motivation for the comic book stores? Are they making enough off of this? Like, yes, you could, if it was popular and everything. Hey, $1.99 is a fantastic price for a full color issue on nice paper. It wouldn't even have to have like, such good names behind it for me to try something at $1.99. But this is really good quality. And yeah, they're going to keep trying to sell it at $1.99. I'm curious to see if this experiment works. I'm glad that somebody is trying it. Zach says, all the characters say in West Philadelphia, born and raised at the beginning of every sentence. And he's not wrong. That actually is the way they talk. And that's authentic as far as I know. ChemDog gives us some information. Ramirez drew the recent artist on the latest Peter David Janice Bell series. Okay, so he was the latest artist on Janice Bell. Okay, good. it would be fun to do an episode about those crazy Hostess ads. I worry about covering the same ground as this one writer who wrote about them, like, honestly, like at this point, like 15 or 20 years ago, but he wrote about them extensively, and he was called Sean Baby. I think he still writes like maybe gamer articles or something like that. Boy, was his stuff funny. Although that said, like I say, it was like 15 years ago or so, so maybe I've forgotten that, but I really worry that I'd use the same joke or something, because he wrote about like tons of them. Let's see. How can there be vampires if it's always sunny? That's good. It is in Philadelphia. But I will just repeat, during the day, and I only have the one panel here to go on, but he does seem to cover every inch of his skin. And from what we see earlier, it looks like it does take a minute or two for they don't like just poof, like explode and they're done. It's like it takes a moment, then their whole body catches fire, and then you can like sort of put it out. So yeah. The Spire comics? I don't think I know what the Archie Spire comics are, I'm afraid, Victor. Yeah, they glitter. That's how they get around the sun problem. They just glitter. I'm pretty sure Hostess fruit pies must still be a thing. I have to admit, like, I've cut sugar out, so I haven't really been looking at Hostess stuff forever, but I'm positive they're still around. They did cut Twinkies, but I think those are back too. Oh, right. Okay, I see what you're talking about. That's right. There was a publisher who licensed Archie to make Archie comics, but it was by a Christian publisher, and the messages were always about Christianity. Like Betty and Veronica were always going like, we should spread the love of Christianity through the world. But it was written and drawn that it still looked like a regular Archie comic. It's really interesting that Archie decided to do that. That would be a really unique corner to explore. Maybe I will do that. Oh, Hostess fruit pies are still around. Okay, I kind of figured they had to be. Boy, you know what was a good one? There was a limited time thing. They used to have Ninja Turtles fruit pies, and I think it was like a vanilla. That was a good one. I also picked this up, which has been out for a while, but I picked up the first 5 issues of Chip Zdarsky's Public Domain, which he writes and draws. Folks, this is a fantastic drama that you will get into if you like know superhero comics. It's about a family who gets the part of the rights back to essentially sort of a Marvel superhero level character. Like there's a publisher that like still makes, this one superhero called Domain, and it's part of like, phase 5 of a movie franchise. And the guy who created it was the artist, kind of a Jack Kirby figure, although personality wise not the same, but just think in terms of history, like a Jack Kirby. And basically this family finds an old document that could give them some of the rights back. And yeah, we're going to see like basically they don't get like all the money and they don't get all the rights back, but they get the rights to continue to make their own version of this character. And they're set up in such a way that that might actually be enough to slowly topple the big corporate giant. You're totally rooting for this family, even though each member of this family definitely has some serious flaws. Like the main guy we first meet, Miles, he's a gambling addict. And he wants to be a new that he's different, not like a creative writer. And his brother's a bit of a fuck up, like a tattoo artist that keeps getting fired because he sort of adds his own nuance and stuff like that. But anyway, it's a really interesting family drama set in the world of comic books and comic book movies. It's really good. I've been hearing that it's really good, and I've been putting it off. It's interesting. It moves at a good click. I also found a weird back issue, technically a back issue. Marvel published this in 1989. It's very small, just to be clear, and it's just like this little paper with a few pages. And what it is it's trying to tell you everything you need to know. Hold on. Dr. Schubel, thank you for the super chat. The Ninja Turtles pie wasn't pizza flavored. I guess that would just be a Hot Pocket. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was vanilla, although it might have been colored a little bit green. It wasn't like neon green. This is just kind of funny, though, just how brief it is. You know, it talks about, it's got one page telling you about the appeal of comics, and they even find a way to like just mention that there are other comics aside from English ones like Akira and Lieutenant Blueberry by Mobius. So it's like, you know, just these tiny little mentions. And then here they're like the profit. They're like, hey, you know, comics can be collectibles. They can be worth a lot of money. This is all part of the culture that like they didn't see where this was directing people, but it did lead to a huge speculator boom that ultimately hurt the industry long term. A brief history of comics. We've got like 3 paragraphs for the Golden Age, 3 paragraphs, or really just 2 for the 50s, then the Marvel Age. So it isn't even like the Silver Age. They're just like, yeah, the Marvel Age. How to identify a comic book. Oh, look for the logo. Oh, okay. Where you can find them. Boy, I bet this isn't, let's see, newsstands? Not really. Fanzines, not really a thing anymore. I mean, it is, but more online. Conventions, yes. Bookstores, yes. Comic book stores, yes. They're like, comic book stores are found by looking in the yellow pages under comics or books, new and used. What to collect? Start with sample back issues. They go, back issues can be expensive. A copy of Captain America #1 sold recently for more than $20,000. If I saw Captain America #1 for $20,000, I'd find a way to buy it. The prices have gone up. How to keep your comics safe. What the condition. They've just got like barely a sentence each for poor, good, fine, very fine, near mint, and mint. Perfect. No defects. You're not going to come across that. Whatever. Some of the hottest back issues. Fantastic Four #1. That can go for $1,600. Glossary of terms, issue number, scripter, editor. It's just hilarious. But I have a real big kick out of that. Now I collect comic books. I am going to I've sort of sketched out quite in actually more detail than I typically do. The new Doctor. I'm going to do my best to sort of draw the upcoming 15th Doctor from Doctor Who. And while I do that, I thought I would go over some of the comic book news of the week. But you know what I want to do actually before I even get into the comic news of the week is talk a little bit things happened in our beloved world of comics throughout the year of 2022, because this is going to be the last live episode I do this year. Yep. Namor gets top billing there. So I'll take this off because we're not Christmassy right now. Now we're just comics. We're going to talk about the new year. Okay, let's get that hair popped up. I'm going to talk. I've got this. Where do I have the notes for this? Oh, I've got it on my phone, which I'm using as a camera. So I really thought that one through. Some of the big events this year, let's say, I'm going to possibly do this. I'm going to have to move this camera for a minute to look at my notes that I have on my camera. So get ready. This is going to look really nice. Hello. Oh, hi. You got me coming right into your living room. Do you still hear me while I've got that closed? Just let me know if you still hear me. Because I'm just looking at a picture. I don't hear you guys, so maybe you don't hear me. Okay. Then I'll pull my screen back up. Hey. Okay, can't hear me. Can't hear me. Okay. Then I'll put this back here. I won't have all the full details. I should have printed this out. I was not thinking. Give me a moment to position this. Is that good? That'll work. You could hear me? Can see every pore. I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that. That sounds rough. 2022 had a lot of stuff happen. Online collecting was still really huge. An example of that. Oh, thanks, Jeannie. My sister texted me. Well, then tell you what, actually. Tell you what. Here's what I'm going to do. Okay. I'm going to like actually read from it, and you won't just see my face for a minute. You're going to see the black screen, but since you could see me, I'm going to actually look at the screen because I want to get these details right, and I'll come back in just a little. So just listen to me. I'll doodle away here so that there's something visual. And the year started off. This is an indication of how popular collecting was. A piece of Mike Zeck artwork, original art, sold for $3.6 million at Heritage Auctions. And it was specifically page 25 of issue 8 of Secret Wars. That was the first appearance of Spider-Man in his black costume. And I thought that that was just a pretty good example of just how popular comic collecting was, sort of as we started to head out of the worst of the pandemic. We also dealt this year with a lot of book banning, didn't we? Starting in January, one of the ones that got the most attention, the most publicity, was when a school in Tennessee, a school district, banned Mouse, that seminal work by Art Spiegelman that's essentially a biography of his relatives during World War II, his Jewish relatives. But yeah, like a school was banning that book. And we've been dealing with a lot of banned books, banned comics in 2022. We dealt with a lot of deaths, and I wanted to mention at least a good big handful of some of these wonderful, talented people that unfortunately we lost in 2022. Consider this the equivalent of the Oscars throwing up the writers and actors and editors and directors during the Oscars. You know, like these are the people you lost. Jean-Claude Mézières, he was the artist on Valerian and Laureline. I've done an episode about that. Definitely an important French creator. We lost Brian Augustin, and he was well known as an editor and a writer, primarily at DC Comics, worked on The Flash for ages, worked on Gotham by Gaslight by Mike Mignola. Took me a minute. I'm so bad at names. We lost Ian Kennedy, a British artist who'd worked on books like Dan Dare and Judge Dredd. Tom Veitch, a writer on books like Animal Man and Star Wars, wrote a really good series of Star Wars books for Dark Horse back in the day that I really liked. It was when Star Wars started coming back in the 90s. Yep, JLA Year 1 was Brian Augustin. Gary Leach, an artist on Judge Dredd. Miracle Man, I think, is probably what most of us know him best for. Pretty fantastic artist. So that was sad. We lost Neil Adams. Now we're like, boy, what a powerhouse in the industry, right? I mean, everybody that collects comics kind of knows who Neil Adams is because we come across him at some point. Did some real seminal work for X-Men, for Batman, worked on all sorts of stuff. He worked as a publisher, did a lot of great stuff. Tim Sale. I think that Batman The Long Halloween is going to be remembered as an all-time great Batman story, and he was the artist on that, among other things. Alan Grant, he was the writer on Batman when I first started reading the book. So I always remember Alan Grant, but he also did stuff for like Lobo and Judge Dredd. Good at like having a bit of an edge to his characters. I really will miss him. Tom Palmer was an inker who worked with just about everybody at Marvel over the years and made them all look fantastic. Did a lot of great work, especially with Gene Colan over the years, and a great artist in his own right, but worked primarily as an inker and really classed up the joint, you could say. Lily Renee. I've made an episode about Lily Renee years and years ago. She was a World War II survivor. Grew up as a little kid in Germany, but escaped to America and became an artist, a pioneering female artist in the burgeoning comic book world, working on books like Senorita Rio. So she's huge. Kim Jung-Gi. That one hurt me a lot. I'm a big fan of Kim Jung-Gi. Met him several times. Masterful teacher, an artist, did lots of variant covers, did a cool book called Spy Games. I will miss him. Let's see. I know that this is sort of depressing, but I want to just pay respects to a few more. Kevin O'Neill. I really talked him up a lot when that happened. A lot of us would see his work more recently on League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. He also did a book called Martial Law that's a great satire of American corporatism and other issues. It's incredible. Carlos Pacheco, that one's really recent. So I know that some of these are kind of raw for people as we mention them. But Aerosmith with Kurt Busiek. I did a lot of stuff with Kurt Busiek, to be honest. Avengers Forever is a personal favorite of mine. And just this month, Aileen Kaminsky-Crumb, who was an editor and a publisher and an artist in her own right on underground comics like Twisted Sisters. So I wanted to mention some of those. I think it's just really important to get that out there. I'm going to bring myself back up here and we'll talk about some of the more positive things that happened this year in comics. There we go. Let's put this right back here. Hello, everybody. Lovely to see you again. Put it like that. Sales in North America topped $2 billion this year. That's huge. So they continue to go up. Comic sales continue to increase. That's good for everybody. Let's see. Look at that. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for the super chat there. Since you are upgrading your stream, here's some money for the fund. Thank you for the weekly comic news and for honor mentions of those we lost this year. And I couldn't really include everybody because there's all sorts of amazing, artists and writers and stuff. But I wanted to mention some of the big ones that I was familiar with. Thank you for the super chat. Happy to say that. And, but yeah, so the industry, money-wise, over 2 billion, that's cool. Digital comics are huge. Manga is huge. There's a lot of the place where you see the most sort of turnover and stuff like that is all in the middle, because there's a lot of publishers out there trying to break in, and some of them are making good waves early on, and some of them are having trouble getting footing. We'll talk about that some more in the news coming up, but it's definitely been an interesting year. I've read a lot of great comics, that's for darn sure. The next Comic Tropes episode I'm going to release is going to be my top 10 comics of 2022. It's very hard to limit that to just 10, so I do have things like honorable mentions and recommendations for other things to read, but I do have that, and I'm excited to share that very, very soon. Yep. Thank you, Steve. That's very nice of you. Yeah. George Perez. That one hurts. Did I not mention George as I went through that list? Because I definitely had him on my list. I might have lost my place because now I'm thinking about it. I don't think I mentioned George. And that was not intentional at all. That was a mistake. Whoops. But yeah, of course, George Perez. Avengers, Crisis on Infinite Earths, Wonder Woman. Yep. Okay. Sorry, everyone. I did make a mistake. Whoops. I'm sorry about that. That was not intentional at all. That is a huge name to have overlooked. I just lost my place in my list. Well, I think that this might be a good time in the show, I bet you'll agree, to get into the news of the week. Let's do it. News of the week. We're going to put it on. We're going to tweak that news. Here we go. Oh, very nice to hear that, Steve. Bought Ducks keep beating on your recommendation. It is a very impressive piece of history. Yes. Let's see. What did I just hit? I missed that one. I don't know what that's referring to, unfortunately. But let's get into the news. All right. Yeah. Comic Tropes. That's my other channel. I'll plug for myself. Here. I'm starting off light. Okay. We're going to start off with like movie news and stuff, but we've got lots of comic specific stuff to talk about as well. So don't worry. Don't worry. I know what you're here for. You're here for the comics, the comical books. Me too. Aquaman 2. Keep in mind, the first Aquaman movie actually made a ton of money. It crossed $1 billion. It was kind of dumb, but kind of fun on us, honestly. It was surprisingly good for what it was. But according to Variety, an industry trade publication, Warner Brothers co-chief Pam Abdi talked to the director, James Wan, and told him, guess what? You got to reduce your reshoot budget. Like, they filmed it, but there's always reshoots on these big movies. Because apparently the movie has already crossed over $205 million, which was its budget. I don't know by how much, but they're literally telling the director, like, start cutting some stuff. And I bet that will start with cutting sort of cameos and connective tissue to the greater universe that they had been building. We'll talk about that some more soon. I'm here for the kitties, actually. You hiding them? I'm not. I would love to have them here. They love my wife a little bit more. That is just the truth, unfortunately. So they are definitely cuddling in her lap right now. I saw that right before the show started, and I tried to lure them away with pats and wiggling toys and stuff, and they wanted to be with her, and that's okay. That's okay. But yeah, the current plan right now, and this is in a bunch of different industry trade publications, they are absolutely cutting the cameos of other Justice League actors at this point. Like, Superman and Wonder Woman were Batman, like from the Justice League movie. They were all going to be making cameos in Aquaman 2 and Flash. And Ben Affleck as Batman might still show up in the Flash, since that goes into like multiverse stuff, and they definitely would have the Michael Keaton Batman. We saw that in the trailer, so it might still make thematic sense to have more than one Batman, but they're cutting stuff, like they're done. They're done with that. And this is just an indication of that. And in fact, the next piece of news is really tightly related to this. So let me just continue. Oh, flip the page. Henry Cavill, he's out. He is done as Superman. He is done, apparently. And that's too bad, because it was literally less than 2 months ago that Henry Cavill posted on Instagram an image of himself saying, "This is just a taste of what's to come." No, that was the whole meal. That was the whole meal. There is no more Henry Cavill as Superman. I feel a little bad, because I personally don't. I, a good actor, looked good as Superman, played it right, but I was not in love with any of the appearances that he did as Superman, if that makes sense. I thought he was good, but that he didn't get the best material to have like a definitive Superman, even like really moment, let alone a whole movie. But yeah, this week, Henry Cavill posted this black and white text that I've got here that he's not going to be back. He said, "I have just had a meeting." I can't do a British accent or sound like Superman, so I'm going to read it in my voice. It says, "I've just had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it's sad news, everyone. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman. After being told by the studio to announce my return back in October, prior to their hire, this news isn't the easiest, but that's life. The changing of the guard is something that happens. I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them and all involved with the new universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes. So he also says, like, hey, we can mourn, but remember, Superman is still around. Superman, blah, blah, blah. He's great. It's been a fun ride, onwards and upwards. He should have said up, up, and away, but I guess he was distracted by being sad or something like that. I don't know. But you know what? Not that he's old or anything, but I believe he's 40. If they're like sort of restarting a whole universe, you probably do want to go a little bit younger to get some more mileage out of it. If they had really moved forward when they hired him, they could have gotten a lot more use out of Henry Cavill, and that's on the Warner Brothers brass. But you got to move forward, you know, because I'm sure he's going to still be in great shape, and he can take steroids if he needs to, but he's going to look 50 someday soon. By the way, related to this, James Gunn has announced that he is writing a new Superman movie for this sort of new rebooted DC Comics movie universe. He might direct it, but he's not sure on that, but he is writing. I think that he knows he's a writer, so that's a good. This last news like bullet that I have here, I don't feel 100% confident about it, so call this a rumor. There's a gossip reporter called Du Moy, and that channel or podcast shared a report from an insider that alleges, I'll keep this alleges, that Henry Cavill did not quit The Witcher to work on Superman, that in fact he was asked to leave that because he'd become really rude and toxic to the female employees there, not in a sexual way or anything, just the reports the gamer culture, and he was just like really dismissive, and that show does, and like he was constantly sort of like going to do stuff. Let's stick with the lore from the books and the games, and he's like, no, I've got a better idea. That's what the report alleges. I hope it's not true, because so far I've only heard good things about Henry Cavill. This is just one report, so I don't think you should put a whole lot of stock in it. But who knows? It could all be tied together. That, like, if he is that difficult and they were paying him a fortune, then yeah, it's even less likely that they want to keep working with him. Okay, hold on. I missed some super chats. Hold on. My mouse battery seems to be not working great. I need to spend money on batteries. Great. 2 super chats. Thank you for your super chat there. And I'm scrolling up here to see. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So what is your best moment on the spinner rack this year? Chewing old gum or the one chip challenge? Also bought Grim Thing by Mosley. Let me give that some thought. The best moment on this live show. I'm going to give that some thought. But honestly, it was probably eating the spicy chip. That was pretty funny. And Nelax says, thanks for all the great content this year. Your videos are amazing. Hope you have a great holiday and a happy new year. I hope the same for you. Thank you so much for the kind words. I really appreciate it. That's really, really nice of you. Oh, the person who started the smear campaign apologized. Okay, well, that's pretty new news. I did not know about that. So this news indicates that was a smear campaign. I didn't hear the apology. So I guess what I got to say is let's all do our own research, because I did want to couch that in saying, like, hey, it's just one report. Things seem to line up, but with no verification, I don't know. I wasn't even sure if I should have shared it. Whoops. Thank you. What are my thoughts on AI art? Yeah, we got into this a lot last week, actually. Somebody asked the same question, so I'll keep it short and sweet. If you want to use it as a tool for brainstorming and concepts, that's fine. But I think if you're using it to create actual pages for comics and books and promotional campaigns, that's pretty garbage. It's definitely stealing existing artists' work right now. I think it looks pretty terrible generally. Makes lots of weird mistakes and stuff like that like the people that are generating it just don't seem to care about. But like hands will have extra fingers and things like that they don't correct. Circles aren't like perfect circles or ovals. It's just awful. So anyway, yeah. I am, boy, am I not a fan of AI art. Here's something that sounds like it would be a rumor, but no, this is absolutely true. Sony is making another movie, a live action movie with a Spider-Man villain. This time they've announced that they are making a Hypno Hustler movie. Hypno Hustler. That is a pretty obscure one. To be fair, probably not as obscure as El Muerto, which they're doing as well, but pretty obscure. But it has some pretty good talent behind it. Donald Glover is set to both star and produce in it. Well, I have a lot of faith in Donald Glover. He is a very clever and talented guy. He's amazing. He's amazing. Yeah. So Hypno Hustler. There, Andy is surprised. Go home, Sony, you're drunk. Yeah, that's fair. EJ, tagging on to what I was talking about, AI. It's not art. It isn't. It takes no work. There's no creativity involved at all with typing like make a pretty lady in the style of this artist that I already like. That takes no work at all. So if you were just using it to brainstorm privately, that's one thing. But if you're actually trying to get that work published, I think that's a pretty crummy move. I think that's plagiarism. I'm not a fan. But jumping back to Hypno Hustler, why would they want to make a Hypno Hustler movie? Well, first of all, you can see the image there. That's his debut appearance. That was issue 24 of Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man from 1978. That was writer Bill Mantlo, artist Frank Springer. And basically, the Hypno Hustler, his guitar could hypnotize people, and his backup singers there were called the Mercy Killers, and they would like rob people while he hypnotized them. He also had knockout gas in his huge boots. So basically, honestly, this guy was Marvel's The Ringmaster, except for the disco era, because the Ringmaster was, like he had a hypnotic hat, and he had like his minions in the circus just rob people when they were hypnotized. This guy did the exact same thing. But why would Donald Glover want to do that? They say that A, he's interested in the musical aspect, respect there. And second, there's hardly any baggage there. Like nobody has any real expectations like, oh, if you're going to do the Hypno Hustler, you have to do the story from issue 24 exactly as is. That's the only way I want it. I like this. Can they resurrect Rudy Ray Moore to play the Hypno Hustler? Well, you know what? I was about to say they should get Eddie Murphy to play Rudy Ray Moore, but you know what? Supposedly it's being written by Miles, Eddie Murphy's son. So there is a connection there almost. Just because Eddie Murphy did play, who did he play? The guy that played like Dolomite and stuff. That was a good movie. Anyway. Yeah, the Beowulf has it. The deep lore and expanded universe of the Hypno Hustler. Exactly. Like no one. So you know what? Like if they make it, all I can say is there's no big expectations there, I don't think. Rick James, Ringmaster. I don't know, Kerbals. I don't know what else Miles has written. I mean, he must have written something else. There's no way, even with your father, that you just jump up to writing, a franchise movie if you haven't done anything else. So he must have done a few things, but I haven't looked yet. So maybe somebody else can take a moment to see what else Miles, I think it's spelled Myles, Miles Murphy. He's done. Yeah. Yep. Where's your humbug movie? I know, right? Hypno Hustler versus Paste Pot Pete, about to shatter box office records. Exactly. Hey, in 2023, I'm legit going to see if I can get a hold of a Marvel editor that would hear me out on pitching them a Paste Pot Pete one shot. Just see like a down on his luck guy who's really got to be supremely confident in his abilities. And by the way, I've looked into some of Paste Pot Pete's appearances. He actually does have some clean wins over Spider-Man, The Thing, Daredevil, a few others. He actually has several clean wins, and then like the heroes basically lucked out and regrouped and sort of like, came back later. But he's actually got a few clean wins, so he's got every reason to be proud of himself. He's got some really great paste there. He's got some really great paste. But you got to be surprised that like, no matter what, like, who was expecting a Hypno Hustler movie? So let's see. That means that Sony is building a Sinister Six that would be what? Vulture, Morbius, Kraven, I guess maybe Venom theoretically, El Muerto, Hypno Hustler, and maybe they go up against, say, like Madam Web, something like that. Is that what they're building towards? I don't know. It's pretty crazy. I don't know what to make of it. Let's move forward. In fact, what else can I say about this? Nothing. All I can say is, as crazy as it seems, if Donald Glover is starring and producing, I have a little bit of faith that could be a pretty out there creative idea. C2 news, or maybe I should really call it a teaser, actually, now that I think of it, because all they've said is more that this week saying that this month, this being December, this is the last month that we won't have a season 2 update for you. So season 1 debuted back in March 26, 2021. So we went through all of 2022 without any new Invincible. We got Invincible season 1 in 21, nothing in 22, but they are working on both seasons 2 and 3 at the same time. Hopefully, not too much longer. I thought that season 1 was pretty darn good, to be honest. I thought it was really, really good. Yeah. How do you market a Hypno Hustler movie? With Donald Glover, I guess. And with good music. They can't use Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I don't know what they can do and what they can't with that. Give them that 9-panel laydown and staring into some rain, reverse engineer that Mr. Miracle formula, and you'll surely get signed. It's pasting time. Yep. We'll see. I've got an idea in the back of my head just because who else is pitching Paste Pot Pete right now? If somebody else right now did get a Paste Pot Pete miniseries, I'd be a little hurt that I didn't get an opportunity just because of how much I mentioned the guy. But it's okay. I mean, I'm still just technically some sort of a critic off to the side, and I get that. But I've got an idea. Anyway. I like that one, Archmage. Hypno Hustler in the morning. We got a Community reference. A-Man talking about Invincible. It was so good. I think it's become my all-time favorite shows. One of your all-time favorite shows. Dude, it was great. It was great. You know what I liked about it? And, I'm biased here, but the fact that they got Corey Walker to design all the main characters and Nate Belgard to design the background characters meant that it really, in my opinion, did look a lot like the comic. I liked that a lot. That worked for me in a big way. So I'm excited. A great idea. That's my middle name, Chris. Great idea. Comic Tropes. Moving on. We've got lots more exciting news for you. I don't know if I'm even at the most exciting yet. Let's see here. Here's a down criminal, but this is a press story in some of somebody dying. He is accused of killing his wife over his comic book dream. In Bucks County, Pennsylvania, he was arrested this week by police after his daughter reported that her mother had been missing. The police checked his phone, and it turned out it revealed that he'd been having an affair for the last 6 months. And so supposedly his wife did not support the 57-year-old man's dream of opening a comic book store with his brother. Thank God this guy did not open a comic book store. Thank God. His phone searches included. This is how good a criminal he was. This is how he tried to figure out how to commit the perfect crime here. How to get away with murder. How to control your dark impulses. And how to disappear and never be found. So, allegedly he dismembered his wife and hid her in the woods, but he told the police he would show them. He fessed up to it right away as soon as they interviewed him. So that is at least resolved. Pretty horrific. All I can say is, I guess we're lucky that this guy's such a bad criminal and got caught. And we're lucky that his wife did not support that, because I don't think any of us want this guy running a comic book store. What do you mean you're going to cancel your subscription? I know you live. Yeah, that's scary stuff. That is scary stuff. Look at that guy. Let's not look at him much longer. Let's just move on. That's good thinking, Chris. Move on to a wanted poster after that. Well, whatever. This is fiction. This is fiction. There's a release update for Netflix. So we already knew that One Piece was going to somehow be turned into a live action show on Netflix. And this past week was an event, sort of a comics convention thing, specifically aimed at talking about the comics from Shonen Jump. It's called Jump Festa. That's what it's called, Jump Festa. So anyway, they had that event, and Eiichiro Oda was there. They talked a lot about that animated movie that came out this year, Red, the One Piece movie Red, because that was humongous, earned tons and tons of money. But regarding this, he specifically said two things. One about the manga, one about the live action show. About the manga, Oda said that there is going to be a huge battle royale coming up very soon, and that an important character could die from that. If I'm not mistaken, I think that the battle royale maybe has already started, because they're currently in a battle with a bunch of different factions. So he might just be saying that that's going to get even bigger, because there are still some other characters that could join in there. And then he talked about having seen the first live action footage for this show. And he said that while he was super nervous about it, that it looked, quote, amazing. Another Cowboy Bebop. Well, that's one way to look at it. Although, to be fair, even though Cowboy Bebop did not do well, they did do sort of an American manga for 2 seasons. They did a Warrior Nun, and that got 2 seasons. And a lot of people said that actually had really good action and good acting too. So 2 seasons is better than Cowboy Bebop. I guess lower expectations and probably less overhead. It was probably a smaller budget, but who knows? That said, Cowboy Bebop is beloved, and I'm sure they had some pressure on it, but One Piece, I mean, that's been going on for a much longer time and has a much bigger fan base. So I'm sure that Netflix is definitely pouring considerable resources into getting this right. If they're smart, they're pouring considerable resources into it. I don't know. Let's see. Somebody here, Vin says, also in manga news, the creator of the Shonen magazine, or the comic, Jujutsu Kaisen, made a statement recently that the series may be ending within the next year. Okay, that's big news because Jujutsu Kaisen was the #1 best-selling manga of 2022. So that's pretty huge. There was some Naruto news too, and I'm sorry, I've never read that one, so I know nothing about that. So I didn't read that news. There is some. Oh man, if you're talking about Naoki Urasawa's monster, I totally agree with you on that. Like, I would love to see that done as live action. That's very doable. Yup, I know. I'm giving them maybe too much credit, saying if they're smart. I knew exactly what I was saying there. But every once in a while, they do make a really good show. Every once in a while, and it's just like, you're like, oh, right when I want to cancel, they release something that I'm like, well, I did kind of like that. I really liked Wednesday. That was, worth the price of my subscription. I don't know. It's not perfect, though. They cancel stuff that I like all the time, and it drives me nuts. Yeah, Shin Matthias does have a good point there. The budget is there because they actually built the ships. Yeah, I've seen those photos too. They did actually build, like, I think the Barity and some others. Like, it's pretty impressive. Moving forward, this one makes me so sort of sad more than anything else, or disappointed. AMC Publishing is in doubt. Now, am I super invested in AMC Publishing as a new comic book publisher? No, but they did have some projects in the world that I would do. But AMC is apparently not these days. They're facing some tough times, and they've had a ton of layoffs throughout their organization. And this past week, that included the head of AMC Publishing, Mike Zagari. He had gathered some really interesting creators. In this image here, this is from a book called Parisian White that's written by Kelly Sue DeConnick with art by Bill Sienkiewicz. I've been looking forward to that book for a long time. It's been delayed a bunch, but just a couple months ago, they said that it was definitely coming in early 2023. Or no, in November, they said it was coming in 2023. Well, now it's probably going to be delayed again because it looks like AMC Publishing might be shutting down. They'd also gathered people like Stephen King and a bunch of other like big names. Billy the Sink Art? I've never heard that nickname. Did you just make that one up? Yes, same AMC as Better Call Saul, Walking Dead. They definitely have a few hit shows, but I think that they may have tried to expand beyond their capabilities a little too fast, and so like now they're actually hurting quite a bit. It's frustrating, only because look at those names. Like, any of those people like that work on a comic, I'm automatically curious about what they'll create. So we'll see. AMC axing the Bill Sienkiewicz books makes me sad. Just to be clear, it has not been announced that it's been canceled. I'm just saying that the head of the publishing division just got laid off, and I think that creates a lot of doubt as to exactly what's going to happen here. I would say at least a deadline. Yeah, MF, I'll be getting to that news shortly. So, in fact, let's move forward. But that was, it's not too, anything Sienkiewicz works on, I want to see it. I'm a huge fan. I'll get anything he does. So here we go with AfterShock. And actually, like, beyond the news that I'm going to go here with, just before I went live, there was another sort of big bombshell with AfterShock. So let me go through this. And this image here, Party and Pray, is what a bunch of it sort of centers around. But there's also some news more generally related to like where the industry is right now for some of these smaller publishers. It ties into some of the news that we had last week, because AfterShock Comics has specifically been accused of not paying its creators. We talked about this last week, and we said that there were rumors that Valiant and AfterShock were two of the publishers being discussed, when a lot of creators were on Twitter saying, this is becoming an issue and it's not okay. So yeah, we discussed that last week. Will Robson started that Twitter thread. I think it's really valuable to read up on some of that information. This week, writer Alex DeCampi tweeted that one of the companies that isn't paying, he named them. He said AfterShock is not paying its creators. He also said that AfterShock has not paid a friend of theirs tens of thousands of dollars. Now, exactly which one, I don't know, but it's one of the people that worked on Party and Pray. I say too much on this. Sorry, that's my bridging word, I guess. So this is a book written by Steve Fox, Steve Orlando, art by Alex Sanchez. Look at that, Hassan. I always mess up this name, but Otsmane Alao. He does a great deep dive on comics with his magazine. You should follow him on Twitter. But anyway, this was just optioned as a movie, apparently. AfterShock optioned it as a movie, and apparently they didn't tell the creators. That's not good. That's not good. I think that they were trying to stall there, trying to, like, you know, get some money into their coffers and like not have somebody asking for their fair share right away. But that's just speculation, just to be clear. Oops. Thank you so much, Andrew, for that correction. I did not know that. Alex DeCampi is female. Oops. My apologies to Alex DeCampi. I did not know that. I feel ignorant. AfterShock actually issued a statement this week to two different statements, but both saying the same things to comicbook.com and comicsbeat.com. In part, that some of these quotes say that they recognize our obligations and consider creator compensation our number one priority. We apologize for the situation and are making our best efforts to rectify it as quickly as possible. End quote. So what just happened today? Here's how they're rectifying that. They've declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy. That's when you get time to pay off your debts or pay your debts off in smaller amounts. They listed a huge amount of creditors that they owe. And some of the biggest ones are things like a law firm and, you know, like marketing stuff, printing presses. Those people would all get paid before creators because they're owed more. So, oh my God, that drives me nuts. But so basically, when you declare Chapter 11, you have to list all the people that you owe money to and the amounts. And the ones that are owed the most get up to the top. So suppose like a letterer was going to get paid, I don't know, $1,800 for some work on a book. They're probably at the bottom of the list after like the printers and, you know, the marketing and the distribution and all the other things that are getting paid to just get the books out there. The internal, I don't know. It's just a mess. And this is sort of, I think, related to what's happening with AfterShock. So I have a bullet point here. Graphically does some work looking at the industry. Brett Schenker talked about this just this past week, saying that a number of publishers took PPP loans during the pandemic to stay afloat, and they haven't restructured properly to pay their existing debts. They took those loans to keep things floating, but that didn't change the situation fast enough for how they were bringing in the revenue to pay their talent. And as soon as those PPP loans ended, yeah, you don't have to pay that back, but you haven't built the structure where you're bringing the revenue in. The PPP loans were meant to keep places like, say a mom and pop restaurant, keep it afloat through like the lean times when nobody can come out and eat. And then as soon as like, things are back to normal, it's on you to bring in the business and cook the food, etc. So, but like for a publisher, well, they're like, even though it's the pandemic and they were eligible to take those loans, they're still doing the same level of business either way. And they got to find a way to make that work. So anyway, yeah, in other words, the artists won't be seeing their money. And it gets even more complex in that AfterShock Comics technically it's part of AfterShock Media. They had merged with a television production company that's like the sort of the parent company, and they also have filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So they also have creditors, not quite as many as AfterShock Comics specifically, but a bunch of creditors still. So I think that this is like when you declare Chapter 11 bankruptcy and you're not just like too big to fail, it's not good. To pay those debts, you're going to have to start selling off assets most likely. Chapter 11 gives you time to restructure and put off paying those debts so that hopefully you can salvage your business, bring in the revenue, pay those people and keep moving. But I don't think it sounds good, to be honest. I don't think it sounds good just from what I've been reading. So rather than pay the creators what they were owed, they decided to just close the company and put far more people out of a job. Am I reading that right? Not exactly. No. Chapter 11 bankruptcy does not mean that you are shutting down and you don't have to pay your debts. That is not what it means. It means that you continue to operate your business and you have more time to pay that debt off. And sometimes you can like come to sort of settlements where you pay a portion of the debt. Like, maybe the printer is just like, fine, instead of, the $10,000 you owe me, I will take $7,000 and, move on, and you don't owe me anymore because you get that and nothing. They did not announce any layoffs. They did not announce that they were shutting down. Maybe, like best case scenario, this gives them the time to pay everybody what they owe, and simultaneously maybe like come up with more deals for, say, like movies and stuff, and they're bringing in that revenue, and they recover. So just want to be clear. Technically, no, this does not mean that they are shutting down. Chapter 11 bankruptcy is a very specific thing for a business to give them talk. Let's see. RG says, I just spoke to a penciler doing a book with AfterShock. So angry about this. Freelance artists don't have, benefits from a company or anything, and they work like gig to gig, and they do it because they love it, and they're making personal sacrifices. It's really unfortunate when something like this happens, and just to think that maybe they're not going to get paid at all or only a portion of what they're owed through no fault of their own other than potentially trusting the wrong people, something like that. But I don't think that that's naive. AfterShock has done a bunch of comics, and I think that a lot of people had reason to trust them and to assume that things were going to go well. I mean, they did apparently just broker a deal to make, potentially a movie based on one of these properties. So they're not doing nothing. But yeah, that's a great point. Jamilin points out, Marvel Comics filed Chapter 11 in 1996. So what's the difference? Marvel had been around a lot longer and created a lot more value. They were able to get out of that bankruptcy by, in some cases, selling the movie rights for a lot less than what they were worth, but still enough millions of dollars to get Marvel back into a financially healthy place. But if you're curious, like, why does Universal have distribution rights to the Hulk still? Why does Sony have Spider-Man? It's because Marvel went through bankruptcy and had to bring in some cash, and they had to do it fast because otherwise there was going to be no company. So sometimes you don't get the opportunity of making the best deals, but you have to bring in those money. But Marvel still had a lot of value to what they had created, even if it wasn't actively being sort of made into stuff and sold. They could license these things. So does AfterShock have anywhere near that same bench, that same depth of material to, turn into, say, like, a toy or a podcast, a movie, a streaming show? No, they don't have anywhere near what Marvel had. So, when you're bigger and you get Chapter 11, you do have a better chance of surviving. Anyway. Yeah, Canon got rights. Like, everybody got right. They sold movie rights. They sold off, like, all their movie rights for very, very little. Right. Yeah, right. Canon originally had the rights to make Spider-Man, but they went out of business. So Canon has a really interesting history. There's some documentaries out there. That's a really interesting company. Because they did make a few good movies. That, like, blockbuster action type stuff of the 80s. Stuff that they don't really make anymore because companies like them don't exist. But I kind of liked Canon. Anyway, just thought it was worth mentioning. Let's see. Wasn't Marvel in the second-story offices above a car dealership at one point? Not that I'm aware of. As far as I know, they've always worked in high-rises in Manhattan until, like, they've always worked, actually, in the high-rises in Manhattan, always. Unpaid wages are actually second highest payback priority for Chapter 11. Creators should immediately file a claim in bankruptcy court. So there you go. K-Bar just throwing out some good information. No, different Canon. Canon, the way you spelled it, is a camera company. There was a movie production studio that had 3 N's, like C-A-N-N-O-N. At least I'm pretty sure that was how they were spelled. Yeah, that's related to comics. Albert Pune. Interesting, interesting director. Pretty much always did low budget stuff, but you know what? Sometimes he could make low budget stuff look good. Cyborg, it's a decent movie. He did a lot of stuff for Canon, including speaking of, like, movie rights getting sold to Canon, they did do Captain America. It did not get a theatrical release. That, unfortunately, is a really bad movie, but yeah. Death Wish. Yeah, I forget the name of it, but there's right, they also did Superman 4. What is the name? Like I said, like, I'm using my phone, as a camera, but if any of you could look it up, there is a documentary about Canon Pictures. It's really good. Electric Boogaloo. Thank you, Caballero. Yes, that's what it's called. Electric Boogaloo. It's a really entertaining documentary. I really recommend it. Let's move on to some more news, but that was definitely up to the minute news, talking about just like literally like hours ago, they declared bankruptcy. So it's pretty up to the minute news. This one drives me nuts. Hopefully a bunch of you know Liam Sharp on Twitter. He's Liam R. Sharp, puts his name in as Doc Sharpie. I think he seems like a really sweet guy from what he posts. He comes across really, really nice. And I did like a bunch of his stuff in the 90s, that's for sure. I tried his current book, Starhenge. Looked beautiful. Story confused me a little, but I've heard a lot of other people say they really like it, so I might have to give it another look. But he seems nice, is all. I do follow him on Twitter. He seems great. He's had some art stolen by an NFT maker here. And here's what he's going to do. He's deleting his DeviantArt account because NFT people, like he says, people keep stealing my art and making NFTs. I can't and shouldn't have to report each one and make a case, which is consistently ignored. Sad and frustrating. So that's not fair. He has to delete his online, sort of portfolio of work because it keeps getting grabbed by NFT people. And this is like very similar to what's happening with a lot of artists for AI art. So I have this bullet point here. This past week, this was talking about DeviantArt and ArtStation are two places where a lot of the AI models like scrape the content to learn from, even though they shouldn't. I mean, they don't have rights to, but they do. This week, editors, including people like John Moisson, he used to work for Skybound. I forget which company he's at right now off the top of my head. Whoops. Heather Antos, she's at IDW, and a bunch more. They all posted that they will not look at art submissions that use AI-generated art. They all said that. Look at this. Shin Matthias. I deleted my DeviantArt the second the AI fiasco started. It's so frustrating. Art stolen and became NFTs is really common these days. I know. RG says, Liam's interviews on YouTube, he seems like such a nice guy. Loved his Batman Reptilian with Garth Ennis. Andy, with a good point here. Regarding bullet point 3, are people making submissions to bigger companies using AI art? I am curious. In some of the replies to those posts, it seems like absolutely people have. I think John specifically said he did get a submission that was made out of AI-generated artwork. And that, like, if he gets stuff like that, not only will he not use it, he's like, I will, spread your name to, like, blacklist you in the industry. And I don't blame people for that. That's not creating art. That's stealing art. Now, if you want to, like, give your own art to an NFT, look, while it's not the thing that I'm into, that's fine. That is your choice. That is your choice. I get frustrated seeing the NFT makers and the AI generators taking artwork without permission. Just like they've obviously created an algorithm to just like scrape certain sites that are known to have a lot of content. Are there telltale signs for art being AI generated? I think if you look at enough artwork, there can be. First of all, if it looks exactly like somebody else's art, you're going to have to look at that a little more closely now. It used to just be like, I remember in the 90s, for instance, Joe Madureira became a really popular artist, and a couple people tried to draw in his style. But you could tell that like they were different, just like drawing in a very similar style. But now you'd have to look at that just a little more carefully and make sure that it wasn't digitally created. Also, AI tends to create some weird artifacts throughout. So you have to like look really closely at eyes and at hands and at like, simple ordinary objects that might be on like tables, like, like a group of pens. You have to look at like, do the circles look like they were created with like, oval templates and stuff like that, or do they not even look freehand? They just sort of look wonky. That's not something I feel comfortable recommending, Michael. He asks, and thank you for the super chat, by the way. Do you think everyone should delete their DeviantArt gallery at this point? If you have any concerns about your artwork being stolen and used without your permission, I think you should strongly consider it. Because apparently there's not much that you can do about it. Yeah. AI art never looks right. It can at a glance, but then if you look at it a little more closely, you start seeing weird artifacts. So yeah, I think that you can still tell usually. AI art will always be sort of weak. You can't really compose the image. Exactly. So like you could tell it to create, like two people punching each other, but can you tell it to do that at a bird's eye angle or something like that? Probably not. And you might need that angle if you in comics for panel to panel storytelling. So you're going to get some weird storytelling there where you get like maybe an image at first glance that looks good, but the storytelling of it is going to be pretty bad because it's choosing its own angles and stuff like that. But I feel bad for Liam. I feel bad for anybody. Like I've got a really good friend out here in the Seattle area that's a painter, and she does some really nice work. Tends to do a lot of sort of cats in different types of scenarios. Sometimes, like riffing on horror movies. Sometimes like a steampunk and stuff. Goes to a lot of different conventions and art shows, and she's got a good business going for herself. I'm really happy for her. But you know what keeps happening? These weird little companies, every once in a while, they just grab her art and sell it on their websites. Like you could get, a purse or a phone case or something, and it's got her artwork on it. And she has to take time out of her day to like report it and like sort of follow up and everything, because none of these companies want to like really do anything about it. So it's a problem, I bet, for like every working artist, just protecting your own artwork. They don't go after companies like, say, like Marvel is often to steal because a company, we'll call it like Marvel or something like that, that's owned by Disney, or DC is owned by, the whole sort of Warner Brothers conglomeration. Think of how many lawyers they have at their beck and call. Tons. Whereas we've all seen, maybe this is dated reference at this point, but we've all probably seen Calvin and Hobbes stickers of like Calvin pissing on something. Those were really popular bumper stickers in the early 2000s and late 90s. And that's because Bill Watterson didn't want to create much licensed merchandise, pretty much none, just to be clear. Well, that also means that there's no real lawyers working for big companies watching out for that stuff. So there's nobody to protect it. It becomes your own responsibility. It's awful. What tools do artists have to retaliate besides expensive court cases? Word of mouth, helping each other, GoFundMes. There's no simple answer there, unfortunately. Yeah, I agree. Bill Watterson is awesome. I'd love to do an episode about his work someday. Really incredible. Yeah, you still see those stickers today. I think Bill Watterson just sort of like bailed on trying to fight that because he doesn't want to spend his life fighting those stupid like stickers, but I'm sure he doesn't love it. We'll move on because I do have some more news. Let's see what else I've got here. Steve Skroce is returning to Marvel, and I don't know how many of you out there necessarily know his work, just because he hasn't worked at Marvel since 2000. Since 2000, he did 4 issues of Wolverine, but he's mostly moved from comics to doing a lot of storyboard stuff. I know he works with the Wachowski siblings on pretty much all their movies. Started with The Matrix, but like all their stuff, and a bunch of other movies too and stuff like that. But he's coming back, and he's doing this book called Clobberin' Time. Great title for a book about the Thing. He's going to write and draw it, and it will feature the Thing teaming up with a different Marvel hero each issue. That debuts in March, and this whole thing about like teaming up with a different artist each time. I mean, different artist, teaming up with a different hero each time. Yeah, there used to be a Thing book like that. It was called Marvel 2-in-1. So editor Tom Brevoort had approached Skroce and said, like, this is according to Bleeding Cool, but like had approached him and said, like, how about, a new take on Marvel 2-in-1, an ongoing Thing book where he teams up with somebody different every week. I love that idea. I think that sounds so fun. And I'm all about fun comics here and there. Like, I love deep comics. I love comics that push the boundaries. But I also like just fun, cool comics. And Steve Skroce is a really interesting artist. Worked on a couple cool books in the 90s. Did some good stuff on Spider-Man, did some good stuff on a book called X-Man. But not a whole lot of comics. Yeah. Love me some Ben Grimm. Marvel 2-in-1. Yep. Good book. Oh, yeah. Doc Frankenstein he did. Yep. I'm seeing monsters on the cover and I'm all in. Yeah, it's a good start. And look at how beat up the thing is there. That looks cool. Yeah, Alan Moore's Youngblood was drawn by Steve. So he's done some a wide variety of comics, but not tons and tons. And I'm excited to see him come back. By the way, if you ever get a chance to look at the art books for something like The Matrix, it's basically all concept art and storyboards by either Steve Skroce or Jeff Darrow. It's really good looking. It's nice to see them work on stuff like that. So yeah, I'm excited about that one. I think that sounds like a blast. It's kind of funny that everybody loves The Thing. He's had several attempts at ongoing series, but the only one that lasted a while was Marvel 2-in-1. The other series all sort of fade out kind of fast for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe as much as people like The Thing, they really mostly like him interacting with other people, including, the Fantastic Four. I don't know. I'm just speculating why he never really seems to have a solo title last very long. You know what? I should do an episode about Jeff Darrow because I also love Jeff Darrow. He's incredible. He's got a very European style, doesn't he? That sort of open line work. It reminds me of bande dessinée. It reminds me of guys like Mobius in a good way. I really like it. Yeah. It would be fun to talk about Hard Boiled. I would like to do that. I would really like to do that. I like how Thing is a big tough guy with average intelligence. I would say above average intelligence for the record, even though he talks he grew up in a poor neighborhood and people sometimes keep their accents and stuff like that, but he's actually a pretty smart guy. I like that. Oh, I enjoyed that too, Chem Dog. I did too. It just didn't last that long. Let's see. Chris, who would you love to see The Thing team up with first in clobbering time? Well, I already know that in issue 1, it's going to be the Hulk, and in issue 2, it's going to be Wolverine. I would like to see him team up with heroes that he probably hasn't really teamed up with before. So we're going to look at some of the newer heroes or more obscure heroes. Give me a story with Darkhawk. Give me a story with Miss Marvel. That stuff would be interesting. I don't know. Team him up with Wood God. Yeah, he's an astronaut and a test pilot, and he went to college with Reed Richards, so he's not a dummy. He went to college. He's smart, and sometimes he has to use that intelligence when he's on. Ben Grimm and Luke Cage are both big bruisers who are actually really smart. Yeah. Luke Cage also, sort of grew up in a tougher neighborhood, and he sort of he kept it street, but he's not a dumb guy. And I like that. When you sort of I think that they even play into it sometimes, each of them, so that people underestimate them. I think that Spider-Man does that a little. The Thing should team up with a Great Gazoo every issue. Yeah, that won't burn anyone out. Oh, yeah, I think that I think Ben Grimm has got to be one of the closest characters to Jack Kirby from his point of view, because you can look at Jack's art, and he even did a Hanukkah card for friends and family where he drew Ben Grimm, the Thing, with a yarmulke on, and a Torah in his hand. And I think that, that's a very personal decision to have used the Thing. He could have used a wide variety of other characters that he created and co-created. But yeah, there you go. The Thing and Shamrock. Oops, I missed what that was a referral to. Sorry, Marvin. Let's see, Thing and Dr. Bong, maybe. Clobbering and Morbing. Anyway, I think it could be fun. Let's see. Pretty sure my mom found all my hard-boiled issues in my room and threw them out when I was a kid. Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. The Thing teaming up with Hypno Hustler is money on the table. Every time I saw Kirby talking, and I imagine Ben talking exactly like that. I do too. When anytime I've heard a Kirby in an interview, I'm like, yeah, that's what Ben Grimm sounded like before he was the Thing. Maybe as the Thing, he sounds a little more gravelly in his voice, like a blended with Tom Waits, but yeah. I'm sure that it is not just you, Heister. I do need to work on my connection speed. So I do need to work on that. Moving on. Time news. How fun. Sounds fun to me. I've talked about how I enjoy Radiant Black. I think that Kyle Higgins constantly comes up with some really interesting ideas on how to expand and how to promote that. And he's got a new book set in that universe. It's called the Massive Verse. That's where there's books like Rogue Sun and Radiant Pink. Inferno Girl Red is one that's coming up. So a lot of books set in the world that Radiant Black inhabits. The new one that they're going to debut is a 10-issue series that comes out March 15th, 2023. It will have a lot of stuff around it to support this comic, including a monthly true crime style podcast. And they got actors Patton Oswalt and Rachel Lee Cook to voice, I think, police detectives that are talking about this murder case that's at the heart of No One. And that No One is sort of about a vigilante trying to just solve a regular cold case murder. Not necessarily somebody with superpowers. Hey, look at that. I did a variant cover for issue 1. I'll definitely keep my eye out for that, Jim. That's exciting to hear that you're teaming up with Mr. Higgins. I don't think he's here, but Kyle said he might stop in. We'll see. I don't think he's here though. Are you here, Kyle? If you are, speak up. Something that excites me is that's nice to hear that you're involved, Jim. Another friend of mine is Mark, and the podcast will actually have monthly posters by Mark Englert. Mark's a great artist. By the way, I mentioned last week that I was doing a variant cover that I drew for Dynamite, and I'm working with Mark to have that colored because he's an incredible colorist. So, and the plan, I'll confirm it once it's like absolutely like happening. But the current plan is for that to be a variant cover for Vampirella Year 1 issue 6, and that's a big deal for me. You know, I don't draw something regularly or anything, so that's a big deal for me. But I'll definitely let you guys know if that is, you know, the confirmed comic and like when that comes out and everything like that. Give you like the code. But yeah, cover for Radiant Black number 24. All right, I like hearing that. The Thing should team up with me. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat, Steve. I am hoping that my frequent super chats can help with your future streams. Of course they can. I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. These are therapeutic for me, and I always look forward to them. I look forward, you know what? It feels therapeutic for me too. It's an opportunity to talk about something that I enjoy, and I enjoy talking to all of you and getting that feedback. For better hardware, I appreciate it. I do at some point need to get, I've been using the same Microsoft Surface tablet to make every single episode of Comic Tropes. I probably should upgrade at some point because it chugs a little. But one step at a time. But that helps. The first thing is I'm going to upgrade the internet, and then hopefully like I'm looking at some cameras and computers to make Comic Tropes a little bit better. Work on the microphone, work on the lighting. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I trust me, I know it ain't perfect. Hopefully some of that do-it-yourself charm comes through in my videos. I know that it isn't the most high-tech thing, but I do want to improve. I promise. Aw, look at that. Ilias, thank you. Enjoy your content so much. Always interesting and well-researched vids. Cheers from Greece. Boy, would I love to visit Greece. Boy, would I love to. Hope you've got good weather there right now. I love hanging out with fellow comic fans. I hope, yeah, you guys will enjoy talking to yourselves through this. And I do have a Discord. So that's always open. That's always open. But let's see. Look at that. I love. Oh, I just highlighted that. Thank you. Now that Stargirl is over, you have to watch the show. It was amazing. Yeah, I guess I haven't. I don't have a lot of time for watching tons of TV. Was it good? I didn't see it. I have to admit. Give Chris a like on this video. It helps him out. Steve, you've been super generous. You don't have to keep donating, but that's really, really kind of you. Trust me, I do appreciate it, but you don't have to keep doing that. That's really nice of you. Even just seeing where you were a few years ago with the logos tacked to the wall to now is a huge delight. Onward and upwards. Yes, yes. Time to move on to another piece of news, I think. I think that you guys deserve it. Boy, is this going deep into the weeds with some nerdy stuff on this one. DC has listed their multiverse worlds. There was a one-shot this past week called Dark Crisis Big Bang. Mark Waid wrote it. There's some notes in the back. Barry Allen has been crossing into these different multiverses and noting what makes them unique. And they've got basically hundreds now. They used to have 52, right? Well, those still exist, but now they've added a bunch more. Here's just a smattering of the ones that they listed. Like Earth 49 is the Injustice video games and comics. That's that world. Earth 66 exists. That's where the Batman live action show that starred Adam West and Burt Ward. That's where that exists. More recent, there's the DC versus Vampires event. That's Earth 63. This is clever. Look at this. Earth 78 or 789, depending on how you want to look. But that's the world where the Christopher Reeve and Michael Keaton Superman and Batman movies take place, as in they're saying that that's a shared universe. That actually does make a little sense, because there was a throwaway line in Batman and Robin where Clooney's Batman said, "This is why Superman works alone." It actually fits. And of course, Superman came out in 78. Batman came out in 89. So that is Earth 789. And of course, like if we're doing that, Earth 66, the Batman show started in 1966. So Mark Waid has been kind of clever with some of this. Here's one that I was surprised to see mentioned. Earth 1996. That was the amalgam universe that Marvel and DC created together, with characters like there was like a Swamp Thing Man-Bat mix-up, and Wolverine and Batman. They were Dark Claw. There's like a Captain America Superman. Oh, that was Super Soldier. That was the amalgam universe. So that's like officially canon now. And there's just like so anyway, yeah. Well, I don't think that DC has the rights to Green Hornet, even though Green Hornet appeared on that TV show. But yeah. Lobo the Duck. Yeah. Amalgam, some of those books were really, really good. They got a few great artists on there. There was a Kevin Nolan book, Doctor Strange Fate. Great art in that thing. Yeah, Doctor Strange Fate was cool. I think that there was a Spider-Boy book. Who was that artist? Mike? I'm so bad at names. Help me here, folks. He drew The Flash. He drew Fantastic Four. Passed away, sadly. Oh, he was so good. I forget. Hey, my buddy Peg Warmers is here. Nice to see you here. Kevin from Peg Warmers has a really fun show where he talks about toys, mostly vintage toys and stuff. And he was kind enough to have me on his show about a week and a half ago. If you're curious, I definitely recommend checking that out. I think he produces a really nice show. Thank you, Andy. I'm so bad at names. Mike Waringo. I loved Mike Waringo, and he did a great Spider-Boy thing. The Amalgam universe was fun. It wasn't all perfect, but it was fun enough that I did want to see more of it, which there never will be, I don't think. But anyway, it was a fun little experiment, a fun little moment in time. Superpowers toys should have their universe, right? Yeah, you're right. Superpowers should have like a very Jack Kirby-esque looking world of their own. That would make sense. Waringo! Remember the exclamation point from his signatures. There's a few people that have really good signatures, aren't they? Yeah, Mike Waringo had that exclamation point. Elliot S. Megan, he was a writer, but he would put an exclamation point in his name. Walt Simonson. Doesn't Walt Simonson probably have the best signature in comics since the Simonson looks like a dinosaur? I think that's got to be the best signature in comics, right? Are there any comic book artists where you really like their signature? You know, Todd McFarlane used to always draw his in this like sort of scroll, like a turned scroll that was all weathered and stuff. That was kind of fun. Adam Hughes, you like his signature? Right. Just AH exclamation point. Yep. That's a great signature. Is there anybody else that has a really recognizable signature in comics? Oh, yeah. Frank Frazetta had a good one. Yep. Adam Hughes getting another mention. Oh boy, I can't think of anybody that has a worse signature. It would just be like sort of recognizable. Wait, oh yeah, Alex Toth has a good one. You're right. Yep. Wait. Hold on. Gil Kane's signature changed over time. Oh, I'll have to look at that. I don't think I really knew that. But Nono says, oh my God, didn't realize that it was a dinosaur. Walt Simonson loves dinosaurs. And yeah, the Simonson is like a big brontosaurus or something. It's great. I think it's the best. Yep. Kirby's is recognizable because we've seen it so much, I think. It's a good Will Eisner splash page. It's so obvious now that you pointed out. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. Ryan Stegman's signature looks like a Stegosaurus. I'll have to look for that. That's clever. Yes, right, EJ Sue. Exactly. Joe Matarera just wrote mad exclamation point. The Kubert signature. Oh, yeah, that's fair. Disney, bit of an artist. I'm thinking comics specifically. Yeah. Bob Kane drew his signature. Yeah, that was a big signature. That's a John Hancock signature whenever he signed something. Eduardo Risso, absolutely. No big opinions on Liefeld's signature, no. Mike Allred, yep, he's a little creative, yep. Byrne, I'd recognize it, yep. Matt Wagner. Oh, you guys are so clever when we come up with these funny little topics and like you guys just spit out what looks good. But yeah, I think I will have to say that the best signature in comics, personally, I'm going to give that to Walt Simonson. Charles Schultz is definitely iconic. I think that some of these signatures, I think, though, are iconic like Disney's because we've seen it so many times because it's associated with something big. I'm thinking of like sort of the creative signatures, and definitely like Adam Hughes and Joe Matarera are definitely like, you know, fairly unique. Yeah, Mike Mignola, that's a good one. You're right. He writes it a little unique. Yep. So that was a pretty nerdy little thing. Let's move on. Look, I'm a sucker for Ninja Turtles. I made an episode about Usagi Yojimbo as well, Stan Sakai. They've got a huge history of teaming up and appearing in each other's comics. Usagi's been on several iterations of the cartoon. He's been an action figure in the Ninja Turtles line. There's going to be a new story. And it's a little different in that it will not just be the Turtles and Usagi, since it's going to take place in Usagi's world, sort of a little bit in the future of his world. Not like the far future, just like, several years forward. It's going to have his entire supporting cast. So it's going to be a 5-issue series that comes out in March. It's going to be written and drawn by Stan Sakai. Can't go wrong there. And the plot is described as the Turtles pursuing a cyborg villain called Dr. Werewen, that goes through a time portal to Usagi's near future, and he establishes a robot army in feudal Japan. Well, the Turtles chase after him, and they're going to team up with Usagi to stop that. That sounds fun to me. That sounds fun. Today I learned Walt Simonson's signature looks like a dino. Oh, I'm glad that I could share that with a couple people. Some things I think everybody knows, but that's not the case. It's just because I'm a nerd and I read this stuff all the time. I'm glad I could share that. Let's see. Love Usagi and TMNT. They go so well together. Yeah, both from very different worlds, and they've commented on that. But they're both talking animals that know the martial arts, so they do work well together. And Leonardo and Usagi specifically have like a good relationship of like respect, where they and I like that. But if you put a single turtle against Usagi, Usagi is probably the better fighter as long as he has his sword. He's the better swordsman by far in a one-on-one battle. But if it was just like a martial arts, like hand-to-hand fight, probably each of the Ninja Turtles would win. If it's certainly against a group, the Ninja Turtles win. But yeah. Yeah, sure. Bromance is the word. I wanted to mention that because I just thought that looked fun. I just think that. Oh, that's an interesting idea. Peach Momoko drawing a TMNT comic. That would be pretty fun. It definitely would be fun. I would love to see her do that. But you know what? I would literally, I like to see every artist's take on Ninja Turtles. I love Ninja Turtles, and I love the variety and the variations on the Ninja Turtles story. I love seeing different people tackle a Ninja Turtles story. I love it. I love it. I could be wrong, Riv, but there was an Usagi anthology, and I wonder if Peach did a page or something for it. I feel like there's a possibility that she did. I'd have to Google it, but there's a possibility that she did do a little Usagi already. I mean, there's several pros in here that I would love. Andy Kuhn has drawn Ninja Turtles. I think he draws a fantastic set of Ninja Turtles. I think they've got just enough edge, but they still remind me of the original. I love his Turtles, but yes, I would love to see Jim work on the Turtles too. There's so many artists that I would love, and writers. I think that the Turtles have a surprising amount of versatility. You can tell some pretty goofy stories. You can tell sci-fi stories. You can tell some pretty serious, meditative, or just action-oriented stories. Lots of different things you can do with the Ninja Turtles. They're fun to draw. She did cover art. Peach Momoko did for Usagi, because in my head I'm thinking that like I've seen her draw Usagi as a very cute rabbit. I feel like that's something I remember. Andy, you've drawn a bunch of Ninja Turtles. Am I remembering right that at one point you were going to do Last Ronin? And if I am remembering that right, like, was there a reason? If you're allowed to or comfortable sharing, I'd be curious why you maybe didn't work on that, because I'm sort of remembering that in the back of my head, but I could have it wrong. But you've done some great Ninja Turtles stuff, and I love the Ninja Turtles. What weapon band color would I have as a turtle? Look, I got the glasses. I'm a pretty big nerd. I think I'm Donatello, right? I relate to Donatello. He's my favorite turtle. I think I'd be Donatello. That's what I'm thinking. You think, wait, what's this? I think Donatello could beat Usagi. No, I don't agree with that. I don't think any of the turtles could beat Usagi if Usagi was allowed to have his sword. I think he would win like with his sword. But if it was just a fist fight, kicking and stuff like that, then I think Raphael might be able to win. I don't know. Okay, this is just a weird post, so I'm going to acknowledge it. Elizabeth Hurley, or her imposter, is trying to get me to invest in cryptocurrency. What do you do to find the truth of it? Is it really her or another endless scam? Yeah, I think that you should absolutely assume that it's her and that she wants to be your friend. I don't know what that is. If you were a new turtle, though, what would you have? Oh, what would I have for a weapon and a color if I... okay, if I was a new turtle, I'll take what colors haven't been used. We've used yellow too. By the way, I agree with Jamilin here. I loved those Michael Lee issues when I was a kid. They're so cool looking. The snapping turtle design. For a weapon, I guess there's not many weapons left, really. They're just sort of variations on things. But so I'll take throwing stars, and my headband would be white. Oh, thank you for sharing, Andy. I was scheduled to draw that book, but due to the pandemic and some medical issues, I wasn't able to draw it on the schedule IDW needed. Still sad about that. Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry then. I didn't know that that's what happened. That's really nice of you to share that. I hope you get another opportunity to work with them soon, though, because I really do like I'm not just saying that. I really do like your Ninja Turtle stuff. We'll go to another piece of news now, because we all like Ninja Turtles. Got it. Everybody likes Ninja Turtles, at least a little. Oh, that was the last piece of news I had. Darn it. That was the last piece of news I had. I thought I had more. What was I thinking? I guess that was it. All right, so let's get into the holiday spirit before I wrap everything up. This is a good time to get into wrapping it up. But is anybody here doing anything for the holidays that will be fun and unique? Like cooking anything fun for any of the holidays? Also, is anybody here asking for anything comics or comic book related for the holidays? Love to hear what different comic book things people want to get, because, hey, maybe I forgot to ask for something like that and I want to get it for myself. I don't know. Let's hear. What are you doing for the holidays? And it doesn't have to be Christmas, any holiday. That there's a lot of them coming up or happening right now. I'd love to hear you share that, and then we'll talk about some year-end stuff before wrapping it up. But it's not much longer, I think, until I give it a little bit of a wrap-up. I'm getting the new collection of the K-On! Manga. Good. Working on my comic book during the holidays. Very productive. Always appreciate that. Your artwork is looking dope so far. That's nice of you. I've got the new Doctor there looking svelte and happy and stuff like that. We're going to sort of feather that in a little more, I think. But watch comic tropes. Is that, hey, ordering a Kong statue from Sideshow. Always approve of any giant monster. That's nice. Steve, look at you taking care of me. I'm going to watch Hero. Yeah, I made a video on comic tropes about how to make holiday Mountain Dew. It's one of the more silly things I've ever done. Asking for some more bags and boards. Can never have enough. Boy, that's true. I definitely need to start filing some comics. It's a holly jolly pros and cons. Ho, ho, ho! Oh, Andy, you've been a good boy this year. What do you want for Christmas? Just come sit on Santa's lap and he'll give you a present. That sounded worse than I meant it to. Phrasing. Going to New York on Christmas to visit my family. New York looks incredible during Christmas. The lights, if you get some snow in the city at night, boy, does it look good. Marvel Midnight Suns. I've heard that that's really fun. Oh, man, since I cut out sugar, that's the thing I miss the most at the holidays, Keith. I love mincemeat. Love it. Survive. I'm with you, Shin. You're going to survive, and I'm rooting for you. Let's see. Going to see Eyes Wide Shut. That is a Christmas movie, isn't it? Or it's set at Christmas time. I love Kubrick, so much respect there. Nice to know that Doctor Who Christmas specials are coming back. Heck yeah. Let's see. My whole list is comics, Hellsing manga, Something is Killing the Children, East of West, and more. Those are all very cool. Oh, I have to admit, I don't know Hellsing too well, but the rest I do, and I'm sure Hellsing's good. Heister, thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Happy holidays, Chris. Your videos have definitely helped me decompress during the last year, and especially over the last 2. That's so kind of you. I'm glad to hear that. I really am. I asked my relatives for a Batman graphic novel. I figured there's no way they could choose something bad. There's a lot of good ones. Got good odds there. Got good odds. Got a relative interested in reading Watchmen, so that was cool. Good job. Good job. I approve. Kyle says, I just bought myself a bunch of older Peach Momoko variant covers. Way to go. That can't be easy. Let's see. Requested volume 3 for an office gift exchange by Alessandro Barbucci. Okay. Matthias says, I really want to catch up with some comics that came out this year in my country, Argentina, and Christmas is a good excuse. Good. I hope you get some time off. Let's see. I love your chats. Best background while I'm drawing myself. I assume you mean you yourself are drawing, that you're not actually drawing a self-portrait. I think that's what you mean. I'm going to try and finally hug Santa. The real Santa. Hug time. Ho, ho, ho! Up the chimney I go. I bought my friend a Supermobile, a replica of the 1978 comic book storyline in Action Comics. There you go. I just sold my 4 Grendel omnibuses on Mercari. Well, I hope it got you a good penny. I'm going to spend Christmas going through and cataloging my long boxes. Good for you. I'm going to buy myself the Mega Man NT Warrior model kits. Okay. Where's Ruby Sunday? Oh, is that the name of the companion? I'm sorry. I didn't have enough time to draw everything. I didn't even have time to ink the TARDIS. The History of Charlton Comics. Ooh, that sounds good. I respect tomorrows, that's for sure. Happy holidays, comic troopers. More money for hardware. Yes, I approve. Super chat went by. I think I just am behind reading them. Happy holidays, Chris. Thank you for the super chat. I got an early Christmas gift of a drafting table and bought myself the new Love and Rockets collection. Oh my goodness, that is not cheap. I hope you love it. That's great. Going to Big Apple Comic-Con was gift enough. Comic-Cons in New York are something special. Heiser also says, grabbed a copy of the Love and Rockets, book 3. There you go. There you go. Not a self-portrait, my own comics. Good for you. Good for you. I will watch Santa Conquers the Martians. Much respect. EJ, I am wishing for getting no back pain, but I am on Santa's naughty list. Not in my book, you're not, buddy. I think that you're fantastic. And yeah, EJ just wrapped up basically the last IDW Transformers comic. They did Last Bot Standing, and EJ drew that. He's been drawing Transformers off and on for, I think, over a decade now. But I thought that was a nice little thing. And I hope that, like, wherever they end up, that maybe you know somebody there that can keep you busy. But I don't want you to have back pain. So let's see. Going to start working on part 2 of my comic. Respect. That's great. Good. Go for it. Good luck. My favorite comic of the year is number 5, Newburn. Yes. Yes, Newburn was good. Human Target, Nice House on the Lake, Saga, Do a Powerbomb. Would love to hear you talk about these. Giovanni, you're pretty much in luck. The next Comic Tropes is going to be my top 10. there's a good chance that at least a bunch of those are on the list. All of them? Who knows? Who knows? But those are some. I sincerely enjoyed all of those comics that you just listed. Those are 5 fantastic comics, no question. Do they make my 10? You're going to have to watch Comic Tropes to see, but it shouldn't be much longer until I finish editing it. Thank you, Jonah. That's very kind of you. Let's see. I'm getting some Daredevil hardcovers by Wade. Respect. Going to wrap up soon, but let's see. I hope everyone just has a good time the next couple of weeks. Yep, take care of each other. Have fun if you can. Relax if you can. It's so cool how there are so many industry pros just casually hanging out. It's flattering. I love having them here because they can fact check me and give insight on certain things. So we are all very lucky to have them drop in. That's very valuable. I'm flattered to have so many great artists in here. Let's see. The Guardians of the Galaxy special was cool. If anyone looking for recommendations, I agree. It was fun. 17 years. I knew I was going to guess 15, but 17. 17 years EJ's been drawing different Transformers stuff. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? So I think it's fitting that, you were the artist on basically what IDW was closing out with. And I hope you continue to do it, but it's really nice that you were one of their artists that they wanted to work with for wrapping that up. Yep, I agree with you there, Dr. Shubil. In fact, I want to wrap this up within less than 10 minutes, hopefully more like 5 or something. But what was your favorite comic of 2022? If you can, just try to keep it to just one, because I got to wrap this up. But I am curious. We're wrapping up the year. If you can think of one comic that you would want to say, that was my favorite for any reason, point it out. Happy holidays to all you lovely people. Chris, as always, thank you for the glorious content and have an amazing Christmas with your family and Happy New Year as well. I hope you do too, Jim. I hope you have a great time. Boy, I've been busy. I'd love to come down to Portland for a bunch of different things. And if so, I'll definitely reach out. Maybe we can at least grab lunch or a coffee, something like that. It would be really lovely to see you. Hopefully soon. Michael, thank you for the super chat. I hope you are rested when January comes. You earned it. That's really thoughtful of you. And I would love that too. I don't know how likely it is. I'm really burning the candle at both ends, but we'll see. We'll see. Am I aware of the publisher New York Review Comics? No. I'll look into that. I don't know anything about that. So here's some people's personal favorites. Do a Powerbomb. Chainsaw Man. Sergeant Rock versus Zombies. Kali, I like, yeah. One You Repped, 8 Million Genies. Human Target. These are all fantastic recommendations so far. Absolutely. Nice big market tease for the best of 2022. Yes, teasing. Have a great holiday, you too. Last Ronin. That did wrap up this year. Yep. Moon Knight. Red Room Trigger Warnings. It got me into comics again, and it's just my kind of craziness. Good, good. Ducks by Kate Beaton. It's a really unique one. Human. Absolutely. Batman 89. I've heard good things. Oh, Ginseng Roots. I still need to get that. Thank you for reminding me, Eric. I haven't got that one yet. Why didn't I ask for that for Christmas? Darn it. Twig was up in my top 3. So was Stone Ghost. There you go. Death Dealer. Right on. Daredevil. Superman 78. Dealer. Yes. Hit me up if you want to make it to yes, I will. Yeah, I'd like to go to that Marvel exhibit. Okay. Asadora. Boy, is it good. Boy, is it good. The only thing I could say about it is I wish it came out faster, but I always will say that about Naoki Urasawa, who, for the record, is probably my overall favorite creator in comics that's at least living. It's hard to decide, but yeah. Another series of favorites: Swamp Thing by Ram V, Last Ronin, Chainsaw Man, Department of Truth. Those great picks. it is about 20 minutes past where I like to sort of try to wrap up the show. Thank you all for being here. It really meant a lot to me. I don't know why I'm still showing that. Yeah. What do I have any deep words of advice for 2023? Not really. That's not who I am. If I have time to sit down and write, I think I'm more eloquent than if I just talk off the cuff. But I do want to say thank you all for helping to make 2022 a little bit more exciting for comics, because I love comics. I think it's just an incredible storytelling medium, but I really love the opportunity to talk about them with people. And this is a bit interactive. And I really value that. So thank you all for being here. You've helped make my 2022 a little better mental health wise. This is a really good outlet for me to keep me passionate about comics every week. It gets me a little more excited for New Comic Book Day, gets me excited to think about what I'm going to talk about in the week ahead, and it keeps me excited and motivated to keep making Comic Tropes episodes, which take a fair amount of effort. So I just want to thank you for that. It really has helped me have a great year as far as comics are concerned. I cannot wait to share my next episode with you. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to end the stream, I'm going to go eat my dinner. I'm going to try to finish editing that episode as fast as possible for all of you. Thank you again. Next Monday, I am off because I'll be traveling back home here. Thank you very much for the super chat. You're going to get a new paste pot for Christmas. Maybe now. Let's see. How do I highlight this one? Hold on. I'm so bad at this sometimes. Thanks for being you, Chris. Have a wonderful holiday. Very kind of you. Thank you for the soups. Thank you just for being here. Thank you for watching. If you guys can remember to hit like before you take off, that definitely helps the channel a lot. But thank you for everything you do. And again, I'm not going to be here next Monday. Sorry, I'll be here the following Monday, but I do have several Comic Tropes episodes in various states of completion, and you'll see me online on that Flaming Dumpster Fire Twitter, as well as things like Instagram. I'm trying out new things like Hive and Post and Mastodon. Take care, everybody. Keep reading comics.